Let's go on with showing truth and love. One of the criticisms of Christian is that they are hypocritical. All talk, no action. Say that we're supposed to love everybody, but then don't go and show it. And that's one of the criticisms of Christians. But you look through the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, the Bible is always encouraging us to seek justice, encourage the oppressed, defend the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. If we see somebody in need, have pity on them, or not have pity on them, and not help them out in any way, how can the love of God be in us? Keller says something which is really bold. He said, "We can conclude that a professed Christian who is not committed to a life of generosity and justice toward the poor and marginalized is at the very least a living contradiction of the gospel of Christ." In our culture today, demonstrating our love and concern for people is no longer optional or secondary or tertiary. It has to be right up there in front. In the early church, if we look in the book of Acts, we see how the early Christians treated one another. And I have one passage there, which says there at the top of the next page, there were no needy persons among them. Because if somebody was in need, they sold what they had, gave it to take care of the poor and the needy. And this continued through the first 3 centuries. And I want to give you a couple of examples from each century. In the first century, I was told this story. It's in a book, and I don't remember the name of the book, but a ministry partner of ours, and he and I were having breakfast in an airport a couple of weeks ago in Tucson. And he was telling me about this book and this author, and related this story from the first century from a Roman soldier. Roman soldier is out serving his country, and his wife sends him this message. I'm going to paraphrase. "Honey, you know I was pregnant. Well, I've had the baby. It's a girl." And the soldier writes back to his wife, "Take that girl and expose it. I wanted a son." And exposing children meant that you took that baby and you put it out on a wall and left it there. The Romans had no respect for life. You know what the Christians did? Under cover of darkness, they would go get that baby girl, and take it into their own home and raise it. And other people would contribute money to the raising of that child. In 252 AD, we see just a tremendous example of Christian love being shown by the Christians in the city of Carthage, which is on the north coast of Africa. A plague broke out in 252 that was just devastating. This is a huge city. All the people left. And the Christian bishop at that time was Cyprian. And he took all of the Christians and went in to care for the people afflicted by the plague. By the time you go another 100 years and you get to Emperor Julian, Emperor Julian wanted to bring back the old-time religion of the Romans. He was not very successful, and one of the reasons was because of those darn Christians. Everybody was becoming a Christian. And this is what he said in a letter to his friend. "Whilst the pagan priests neglect the poor, the hated Galileans," that's what he called Christians, "devote themselves to works of charity. These impious Galileans not only feed their own poor, but ours also, welcoming them into their agape." Julian's dying words were, "You have won, Galilean," expressing his recognition that very shortly Christianity would become the official religion of the Roman Empire. 300 years of people demonstrating love, showing love, brought about a cultural change from the heathen religion of the Romans to many, many more becoming Christians. In the next box there is a story about Ted, who was a sound man for the Grateful Dead. And he came and he started volunteering at a Christian church to be their sound man. Came to a pre-production meeting one day and said, "I don't believe anything that this church teaches." And so the pastor asked, this is a church out in Las Vegas. Pastor asked, "Well then, why do you keep coming back?" And his response was, "Because I've never experienced such love." And then you can read the last paragraph, that as of this writing, which was last year, he's on a mission trip trying to bring the love of Jesus to more and more people. Now my question for you is, in our churches, would we take in Ted, the atheist or agnostic at best, let him volunteer as our sound man or usher or bell ringer or something, with the hope and the opportunity that he would hear the word and that the Holy Spirit would work faith in his heart?